Right lads, game week 6 review. It's going to be a quick one. I've got a meeting in 4 minutes and I'm just making a coffee and a crumpet. A bit longer. Right, so we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Last on match of the day, probably this one, Rolo versus Rag. Rag, off the back of 100 plus scores for the first 5 weeks, top of the league, doing really well. Crashing down because his team aren't all they're cracked up to be. Even though Colo's scores were the third worst, Colo still won, so a bit of a fluke there really from Colo. Gabriel Jesus, Josh King doing the business for him. No one else scoring over 10 points. Painful. Same Maximan for Rag and Jordan Henderson. At least getting some points on the board. Marcus Alonso going from scoring all the points to minus 1.25 points. Rag loses. Next up, Dan versus STP. Dan benched Tyrone Mings, I think, for the second game in a row, and he scored big points. STP, 114, very solid score. Cancelo, 26 points. Greenwood, 16. Dan with some good scorers. Would have beat Colo, would have beat Rag, would have beat Dura, but that's it. Next up, Plops wins, 3 on the bounce. Who scored for him? Son, Ivan Toney, Alan. Saka scored 28 for Dura though, but he's obviously throwing the games. Now Zaha on the bench, 12.5 points. He left Pepe in, but even with the 12.5 points, he wouldn't have won. He lost by 20 odd points. Allison minus points. Max Aaron's minus points. Pereira 0.25. So his defence is absolutely shit. Next up, Kyle versus Bry. Bry smashed Kyle to bits, despite rolling over and playing dead goose in the first game when Reece James went off injured. He still won. Kyle Luckman, Klitsch, he had a decent score, Kyle, over 100 points, just not enough to beat Bry, who his defence is also shit. All his points came from Tielemans, Antonio and Benrahma. And then me versus the Chudley Cannons. I think the pivotal point here really was Jimenez being left on the bench. Salah scored well, Aubameyang scored well, Townsend scored well, Curtis Jones last minute pick up 15 points, Martinez 16.5 points, so 116 for me. I beat Tupac, but I think where this tie was won and lost was when what's his chops, Bruno Fernandes stepped up, skied a penalty. If he'd scored that, I would have lost a clean sheet. I think it was about a 15-point swing. If he'd done that and played Jimenez instead of which is a dog shit player he played instead, who knows? Dan James didn't score anything. Edward, that was it. Monday night, if he played Jimenez instead of him, Jimenez, he would have won. So there we go. I've made me coffee, I've made me crumble. My meeting starts in 1 minute. Onwards and upwards. Hopefully Kyle continues to not have a review. Lola wasn't born last time Kyle had a review, and I quite like that stat. Hey, have a good week everybody.